So you've clicked on this video, which means you're probably interested in the best way to make money in 2020. Well, before we get started, I'm just gonna have a big disclaimer. This is, in my opinion, what I believe to be the best way to make money for yourself in 2020. Now, it's not easy, and it is not gonna be like the hundreds of thousands of other videos out there on YouTube about finance and making money. This is not passive income. It has nothing to do with saving money, and it's not about investing either. Right, so now that's out of the way, what am I talking about? The best way to make money is to have your own business. So what I'm going to be preaching in this video is starting your own business and why you should get on it right now. So I'm going to touch on how I started with elite football, what type of money I invested initially, time-wise, and the thoughts I had moving forward. I'm also going to be talking about what we're sort of projected to be making in the next year, to sort of in the hopes of trying to convince one of you guys to start your own business today. So step one, admittedly, this is going to be the hardest step, and that is to figure out what you want to sell. Now, what we can do to make this easier is figure out if you want to sell either a product or a service. My biggest tip for this is to explore the current field that you're in. So for example, when I started with elite football, I saw firsthand just how hard it was to travel overseas to a different country, to try out for a team, and to try and get noticed by the first division, second division clubs. So I saw firsthand exactly how that experience might be for someone. And together with my business partner, we worked out a way to make it easier for the future for other people that have had a dream like me of being a professional footballer. Now, just the same, Connor's Your Compass is service-based as well. And he got started with it because he actually works within a uni. So him and his business partner started Your Compass because they saw the missing piece that was needed for the transition to higher education. Now, for you, it doesn't have to be service-based. It can be a product, but just make sure that you're choosing something that you know about, an area that you enjoy studying about, you enjoy keeping up with, and you would enjoy having a business in, whether it's service or a product. So now that that's sorted, it's time for step two. So now that you have an idea of what it is you want to sell or what services you want to provide, it's time to think about where you think that company of yours could potentially be out 10 years from now. I know it's a scary thing to think about, and it's pretty hard to think about it, but this will help your work ethic over time. If you have an idea of what your company might look like in 10 years and it's very luxurious, or, it all depends on how you want to live your life in the future, it'll be the singularity that drives you to do so much hours of work from now until 10 years. And that's what makes this part important. So think about where you see your company in 10 years' time. To help with that step specifically, our next video, Connor and I talk about where we see our company in 5 to 7 years from now and what our day-to-day lives actually look like working with our own businesses. Now we can move on to step 3. In this step, you're going to figure out your overhead. Now you might be thinking, what exactly does that mean, Alan? Well, pretty much it means that you need to calculate how much you want to invest in your business and how much you might have to. So do some research on what your product or service might actually cost you to start up. For example, if you're selling shirts online, you're going to have to contact suppliers and see how much they charge you for shirts. Yes, you can have a startup that doesn't cost you anything to start. Realistically, that'd be more service-based, and even then, it's really only 1% of businesses. So do your research when it comes to the overhead. Contact different suppliers, get different quotes, all that sort of stuff. Another thing to think about when it comes to your overhead is that you need to work to your strengths. So when it comes to me and elite football, for example, I run all the social media, I've done the website myself, and when it comes time to advertising, I make the advertisements myself as well. So when it comes to the overhead, we save a lot of money because we're doing a lot of the work ourselves. So when you think about the overhead, try and calculate your time into it as well. You're going to be spending a lot of your time if you don't want to spend too much money on the get-go. And I would recommend that you spend more of your time than you do your money. Now, step 4, I'm going to split it into 4 parts. That is mainly me trying to just make this video as short as possible because I've seen your retention rate, which are test your idea, get feedback, adapt and change, and repeat. So once you've figured out what you want to do, you've seen what your business might look like in 10 years, and you figured out how much money you're going to need to get it off the ground and start it, If you got to this point and you're still sure about what it is you want to do, it means that you're very confident in your product or your service, which is good. But now it's time to test your idea. So this is a really simple one. Maybe you have friends or family or pretty much anyone. Talk to them about your business idea and what you want to sell or what service you want to provide, and see what people think. And in doing so, you're going to get feedback as well. Don't be disheartened by criticism. Take everything everyone says on board. Some people are going to be more negative than others. Some people are going to be more positive than others. But I think it's very important for you to get both sides before starting a business. Because like love, business is very much the same. If you bring your emotion to it and you think you're going to be very successful in your first try, chances are you're probably not. So being able to take criticism from friends and family, it might really help you in the early stages of your business. So dot point 3, adapt and change. Once you've told people your idea and you've gotten the feedback, you need to be open into changing and tweaking a few little things. Because you're going to find that when you do have your business, it is constantly going to be changing. You're constantly going to be doing things differently and you're constantly going to be evolving. And the early stages, figuring out what it is you want to do, is exactly the same. You might think about a particular product and you might change your business plan thousands of times before you hit the right one and you decide to go on with it. After that, just repeat those steps. Maybe you got up to step 4 and you realize that the product or service that you had wasn't actually that good, or you realize that there's too much competition with it and you don't want to go into a saturated market, which is fine. And just follow those steps until you figure out something that might actually come into fruition in the future, just like Connor and myself have. But the most important thing with all this is don't be disheartened if you talk to friends and family about it and they just completely defecate on it. They might have just saved you on losing a lot of money. But at the same time, don't take criticism too harshly, because they might not actually know what they're talking about. And your vision for the future might be just a little bit more aware than the people around you. So that's pretty much the gist of it. Connor and I both have our service-based businesses amongst our respective fields. We both have our goals of where our businesses might look like in 10 years' time. And we've both already been through the process of figuring out your overhead and how much money it might take for you to actually start your business. For me personally, it was $3,000, but I've already converted that into much more. And you can too. So that's it, guys. Those are the 4 steps I think you need to think about before you go ahead and start your business. Now, of course, there is a lot of different things in between those steps, but if you start to think about every little thing you need to think about and how you're going to do everything, you're never going to start, because you're just going to overflow your mind with too many things to do. So I kept it short into 4 different steps because I really feel like this is all you need to get started. Now, once you're started, you're on your own. You need to work hard, keep at it, and be determined for your end goal. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, consider leaving a like and a comment down below on what you would like to see next.